Welcome back to the Rundown for another weekend deep dive. Today, we are talking about the uncertain future of Temu, the e-commerce app that has gained massive popularity in the US thanks to insanely cheap products shipped directly from China. But now, the whole business model could be in danger because a tax loophole might be going away soon. Temu's parent company, PDD Holdings, is already starting to see its slowdown in growth. So what's gonna happen to Temu if they can't sell $2 drones and $4 tuxedos anymore? That's what we're talking about today. Let's break it down. Temu launched in the US in September of 2022, and a few months later, they had an ad during the Super Bowl with the slogan, "Shop like a billionaire." Now, I remember seeing that commercial, and I would have never guessed that Temu would go on to become the biggest app in the US for 2 years in a row. Now, that was the Super Bowl where the Chiefs beat the Eagles, and just like the Chiefs at the time, Temu's fortunes were on the rise. But in 2025, the story looks way different. The Chiefs just lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and Temu is starting to face a bunch of challenges. Temu is owned by a Chinese company, PDD Holdings, and PDD also owns a very popular Chinese e-commerce platform called Pinduoduo. So the company had experience in how to run a successful e-commerce platform. They took everything they knew from China and applied it to the US. And it was a huge success. After Temu's launch in late 2022, Temu's sales had hit nearly $35 billion in 2023. In fact, Temu was the most downloaded app on the App Store in both 2023 and 2024. Everyone fell in love with Temu's crazy low prices. Now, I remember my parents were addicted to it. I mean, my dad still can't believe some of the prices on there. I'm talking steak knives and power tools and dress shirts for like $4. Now, to be fair, most of the stuff on there is junk, and you have to wait like 2 weeks just to get it because the product is coming directly from China. But hey, it's crazy cheap. Like, I remember my dad buying a mechanical screwdriver for like $4, and then it stopped working after a couple months, but he was cool with it, because if you bought the same thing at Home Depot, he was looking at like $20. So it's easy to see why Temu became so popular. And it wasn't the only app out of China to gain popularity in the US. Shein also became very popular by offering really cheap clothing. And the rise of these Chinese e-commerce platforms have resulted in corporate casualties in the US. For example, US retailer Forever 21 recently filed for bankruptcy, and they're going to close all their stores. The company says they were being hurt by rising costs of inventory and wages, and they were also struggling to fend off competition from the likes of Shein and Temu. Now, the one company not backing off is Amazon. In fact, they're trying to compete with these low-cost platforms by launching Amazon Haul, which they did last November. It's essentially a Temu knockoff where you can buy products directly from China at very low prices. So Temu is starting to see some competition from US players, and that's already starting to have an impact on their business. Temu's parent company, PDD Holdings, recently posted their earnings, and they had the slowest revenue growth since early 2022. PDD's revenues grew by 24% in Q4. Compare that to 123% growth in sales in the same quarter last year. So PDD's business is starting to slow down a bit. Now, PDD executives have been warning that a slowdown was coming for a while. They highlighted increased competition and external factors as headwinds. And one of the biggest headwinds right now that the company is facing is a tax loophole that might be going away that could completely upend their business model. So let's talk about the biggest challenge the company is about to face: the de minimis loophole going away. So what is the de minimis loophole? I mean, it's a fun word to say, but why is it so important? Well, according to the National Foreign Trade Council, this rule allows any packages with a value of less than $800 to be shipped into the US without having to pay any taxes or duty fees. And it's because of this loophole that Temu has been able to sell $2 yoga pants and still make money, because they're not being taxed or tariffed on any of their products going into the US. And when I say that Temu and Shein really take advantage of this loophole, I got some numbers for you. See, back in 2014, there were about 140 million de minimis shipments coming into the US. In 2024, that number is now almost 10x to 1.3 billion packages. This is according to the White House. And according to Congress, Temu and Shein might account for around 30% of those shipments. So this de minimis loophole is critical for their business, because if it goes away, they're going to have to start paying taxes and tariffs on all the shipments going into the US, which means they're going to have to raise the prices of their products to keep making money. So you can see why these companies are freaking out. The de minimis is going away. In fact, it actually did go away. The Trump administration removed the de minimis loophole back in February, but they ended up temporarily reversing that decision because of the logistical chaos that it caused. When that exception got removed, it required the millions of de minimis packages coming into the US every day to switch to a slower entry procedure, and that caused shipping times to go way up and fees to go way up as well. I mean, you can imagine the logistical nightmare that USPS had to deal with when de minimis was taken away overnight. So the de minimis loophole is still in place for now to give these shipping companies some time to adapt. But at some point, this loophole will be removed again. Trump really wants to get rid of it. He thinks that this rule makes it easier for people to smuggle drugs like fentanyl into the country. And other leaders in the US have said some of these cheap products coming in from China could be dangerous to Americans. So the de minimis era is likely coming to an end pretty soon. And that's going to be a huge problem for Temu. But the company is already working on plans to survive without it. So let's talk about that. Temu is already looking at a world where the de minimis exception is gone. They're starting to sell local products in the US. Essentially, they're trying to build their own Amazon. And they've already started to make a dent. If you go to the Temu app right now, there are options to buy products from sellers based in the US. Temu is starting to convince sellers to sell on their platform by incentivizing them with lower fee structures compared to Amazon. See, by offering a lower fee, sellers can take home more profits, which would allow them to sell products cheaper than on Amazon. So it looks like Temu is still trying to undercut Amazon's prices as part of its strategy. They might not be able to do it at the same level as shipping products directly from China, but cheaper is cheaper. And sellers in the US love this because Temu is a great alternative to Amazon. It allows sellers to diversify and not have to rely on Amazon for all their sales. Now, Temu still has a long way to go here. Amazon currently controls like 40% of the e-commerce market in the US as of 2024. Temu is still only in the single digits right now. On top of that, Amazon is still making upgrades to its shopping capabilities. They recently struck a deal with Meta to allow people to buy Amazon products without leaving Meta's social media apps like Facebook and Instagram. So you can just buy an Amazon product on Instagram without having to go to the Amazon app. That is dangerous for my Amazon budget. But overall, I think this is good, right? Like, more competition is good. No one has really been able to challenge Amazon's dominance in e-commerce in the US. Maybe Temu's presence will get Amazon to lower fees and continue to innovate and offer cheaper prices. Like, I'm sure US sellers are really happy to see Temu try to take on Amazon. And maybe that's how we finally tackle inflation. Temu and Amazon just keep pushing prices lower. So there you have it. You know, the Temu story is very impressive. They became a household name essentially overnight by offering extremely low price goods that came directly from China and taking advantage of the de minimis loophole. But the company is now facing a ton of challenges. Sales are starting to slow down because of increased competition from Amazon, and the de minimis era is coming to an end. So that's going to make it harder for Temu to offer $5 steak knives and $2 yoga pants. So can Temu reinvent itself as a US e-commerce retailer and a legit competitor to Amazon? I guess we'll have to see. But, you know, just in case, you might want to order all the cheap stuff while you still can. Well, all right, guys, that's it for today's Weekend Deep Dive. If you guys enjoyed today's show, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, especially on YouTube and Spotify. You know, we actually filmed these deep dive episodes with videos, so you can watch that on Spotify or YouTube. So highly recommend doing that. And if you guys have any topics that you want us to cover in future deep dive episodes, let us know in the comments. Thank you guys again for listening. Shout out to Mike and Connor for all the help behind the scenes. And we'll see you guys back here on Monday.